Kenny Rogers had one of the greatest comebacks in country music history. Let me know what you think in the comments. Now, you might say that he actually had two comebacks, but I don't really consider his first a comeback. He just kind of switched genres. He went from being the lead singer of the First Edition to switching to his country music career. Now, as part of the First Edition, he would have several big hits. Two of those hits were Just Dropped In and Ruby, Don't Take Your Love to Town. But after the group disbanded, he would switch to country music. Now, after the First Edition disbanded, it would take several years for Kenny Rogers to have another big hit. But in 1977, he would score a massive hit with Lucille, which would go to #1. He would go on to become one of the biggest stars of the late 70s and the early 80s, having big hits such as The Gambler, Daytime Friends and Nighttime Lovers, Lady, Island in the Stream with Dolly Parton, and several more #1 hits. Now, in 1987, he would have his last #1 hit of the 80s with Make No Mistake She's Mine with Ronnie Milsap, which would go to #1. Now, he would go close to 13 years without having a #1 hit before in 1999 he would release the album She Rides Wild Horses, and that would produce several big hits. The first song released on the album was The Greatest, and although it was not that big of a hit, it only peaked at number 26, it would start to come back, and that would be his highest charting single in a long time. And The Greatest would become one of his signature songs too. He would follow that up with another song called Slow Dance More, which wouldn't do very well, but then he would release the song Buy Me a Rose, which would go to #1. Now, the song would be one of the longest times between #1 hits for any country artist, and he also broke the record for being the oldest country singer to have a #1 hit. The record was held by Hank Snow, who was 59, but Kenny Rogers was 61 when this song became a #1 hit. And that record would stand until 2003, until Willie Nelson broke that record with Toby Keith with the song Beer for My Horses, which would go to #1. Now, Buy Me a Rose would be Kenny Rogers' last #1 hit. Let me know your favorite Kenny Rogers song in the comments. Mine's Lucille. Over and out.